Since April 17th, 2017, this has been a milestone that has been honestly just in the works ever since, with a few hiccups here and there, especially with the cars. It's still a journey that I would continue to make 1,000 times over. How's it going, everybody? This is FatalRPM. My name's Eric, and in today's video, we're going to be going over some of the cars and some of the things that we've gotten into here on the channel for our 1K special. We're going to go into what the cars were, what they were to me when I got them, as well as what I did with them. And as far as the cars that I do own, I'm going to go into detail with what I'm doing with them and what are my future plans for those cars, and possibly even some cars in the future. So, without further ado, let's get to the first car. So let's talk about the Audi. My first ever car was a 2001 Audi A4 1.8T Quattro. Now at this day and age, I was not a car person, to be completely honest. I wanted to work on my own cars, which is why when we purchased the car, we purchased it in the way that we did. So I got that car for $1,700 all in, about 157,000 miles, and it bucked like it had a bad transmission. Good old Google was able to tell me exactly what the problem was, and turned out to just be a mass airflow sensor issue. Once that was replaced, 90 bucks later, the car drove like it was brand new. Except for the front end damage. That car had a lot of hidden damage on it, but as far as that car goes, that started me out as far as getting into cars and actually working on cars myself. So that car was actually a first for a lot of things, because like I said, it was my first car. And being my first car, I changed the heads on it, I changed the turbo on it. So the funny story about that car actually is I had to change the heads on it because my camshaft snapped in half. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the issue was. I don't have any particular pictures of it, but it was just behind where the cam gear mounted on. So yeah, I don't know what happened to cause that issue. I'm generally pretty good with my maintenance, and I'd like to think even back then I was, even though honestly I couldn't tell you. That car was kind of a kickstart into getting into cars, which subsequently I sold to get the down payment for the next car. The Genesis. I had a 2011 Genesis Coupe. It was a 3.8 V6. That car I got and started the YouTube channel with. So with this car, we did not a whole bunch of stuff. Honestly, I did mostly bolt-ons because I did not have the proficiency nor the want to be able to mess with things on the car, especially since it was my daily, and the only way I was affording that car was if I was working, and if I didn't have a daily, I didn't have a job. So as far as that goes, we did some super basic stuff. We put exhaust on it. We did a lot of cosmetic mods on it. We did engine cover, we did the whole interior trim pieces. A lot of people weren't fond of that, but it was one of those things that on video it looked tacky, but whenever you came and saw it in person, I put all the time wet sanding and sanding it down to make it smooth, nice, because as far as I like my paint finishes go, it's generally a satin finish. So all the red metallic had a satin finish to it, but it was smooth. There was no orange peel, there was no nothing. And the only reason why I was able to do that was because of what I learned with the motorcycle. So in owning the Genesis. So it was actually the Audi. Found that out when I brought up the pictures. I did not realize I owned that motorcycle for that long. I also bought a motorcycle. I bought a 2001 Honda CBR 600 F4i from a salvage yard, of which I subsequently rebuilt to the point where I could get it retitled and get it street legal. Now, saying rebuilt is honestly not saying much, because there wasn't much that made it not street legal. Saw some bikes, I was like, this one has snapped frame, yada 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 yada, blah blah blah. And as I was leaving, they were like, hey, our guy just came in with 2 new bikes. in the truck. And I was like, oh, okay, let me take a look at the bikes. And the CBR was on there. It was perfect as far as the frame goes. The rear sets were a little messed up because it was dropped. Obviously, it wasn't an accident. In addition to that, it didn't have the slip-on on it anymore. The wiring for the tail light, oh my God, the wiring for the tail light. I would say it was a rat's nest, but there weren't enough wires to be a rat's nest. It was missing most of the wires that were supposed to be in the back. It was just, it looked terrible, honestly. It just looks so bad. That eventually got fixed, as I so showed in my YouTube video, because for the longest time I wasn't gonna do much with the bike. However, I figured since I was doing stuff with the car, I might as well try to broaden my horizons with the bike and have some stuff for that as well. Which honestly, I really did enjoy, and I would really want to do another motorcycle rebuild or another motorcycle on the channel. Not even necessarily a rebuild. And maybe do like some moto vlogs and stuff, because I do like having interactions with you guys down in the comments. But if I can actively respond in videos and stuff, that would be even cooler. Or just honestly shoot the shit and talk about stuff in the videos. I would really enjoy that in the warm weather. We're not doing that in the winter. No, it's not happening. I live in Pittsburgh. We have 2 seasons, cold and warm. And it's usually cold, unless it's not. But back to the Genesis. The Genesis ended on a somber note. After finishing the paint for the interior, we took a road trip down to Atlanta for an event that was actually the first year of that. I don't know what's going on with it now, seeing as how I don't own a Korean... Oh, actually, no, I do own a Korean car now. But I didn't own a Korean car for the longest time. And it was called KTM Reunion. And essentially what it was a group of people on Facebook. They wanted to get pretty much everybody who had Korean cars together in the Atlanta area, which I didn't know at the time, together and basically just have a yearly meet. So after we finished the paint, we took a road trip down to Atlanta, my father and I, and we recorded a quick video there for the KTM Reunion, as well as Caffeine and Octane, which we attended on the morning after KTM Reunion. Drove all the way back. I went out of town because I was planning on moving down to Florida at that point in time, and I was meeting my roommate, going around and looking at the places that I was possibly going to work. And I came back and we went down to Las Vegas. That was the whole track experience with the Lamborghini, which was still amazing to this day. Highly recommended if you've never driven a supercar, or honestly, if you've never got to let a car loose, regardless of supercar or not, definitely make it to a track. It's completely different from street racing. But shortly after the return, while shopping for a car, I was exiting a dealership about to head home, got in the turning lane, and there was a guy traveling in the turning lane, and he hit my rear tire, lost control because we did not have ABS, slid straight into the front of a truck, totaling the Genesis coupe and ending that part of FatalRPM. However, when something's lost, sometimes you have a silver lining, and our silver lining just so happened, you know what? Let's get a change of scenery real quick. Here we are. Let's talk about the 335. So, first things first. It's a little chilly out here. So, I figured for this segment we come to exactly where I introduced the 335 to you guys. Now, if you're not aware, somehow, I own a 2008 BMW 335 Xi. It is an E90, so it's all 4 doors, unlike a lot of the coupes that you see hanging around here on the internet. Personally, I like the look of the sedans more than the coupes. Now, I do like the LCI versions of the sedans more than any generation of the coupes. But that's just personal preference. On this roof, where I first took the cinematic of the 335. I got that car to do Uber, and that didn't work out too well. Long story short, within a couple of months, it was down for about double the amount of time that I actually used it for Uber, which was basically all of the winter, which was not great. But as far as mods and things that we've done with the 335, the 335 at this point has full bolt-ons. That is a circuit work exhaust that has been, let's say, massaged into that car. I actually haven't deformed it too much. I have hit it in the wrong places so that I can get it to fit in there. So where I actually needed to be hitting was right here. I accidentally hit there and up here a couple times. That's one of the downsides of the all-wheel drive 335s, is that a lot of the aftermarket parts for that car are a bit harder to come by and are generally more expensive. And the reason why they are a little harder to come by is just for the simple fact that they are not as popular as the rear-wheel drive, which is, I find, kind of ironic, because you can actually get a transmission tune that allows you to turn off the front wheels. So you get the year-round benefit of having all-wheel drive, as well as the hooning benefit of being able to switch it into rear-wheel drive, which personally I have not done yet. However, there is one other person here on YouTube that has showed that feature and works, and it's pretty cool. In addition to the full bolt-ons, it also is tuned. It has an MHD stage 3 or 2 plus. I forget exactly what it is for MHD, but it does have that tune. It is 493. As far as the amount of power that was pushing at that point, I have no idea what it was. I think MHD said it was around 400. I don't know how true that is, and also I don't know how true it is, especially in my car, seeing as how I was also running with a slight misfire, which was probably not helping anything running it on E30. Yeah, power's fun. Maintenance is not, but hey, it is what it is. Those Beamers, a lot of the times people end up chasing down misfires and oil leaks, which coincidentally I did chase down my misfire, finally fixed that, but I've still been dealing with an oil leak this entire time. As it stands, the reason why there is not a 335 right here is because the inspection is up and I cannot get my emissions on that car quite yet. In addition to that, it has over 200,000 miles on it now, which is saying something, especially for a BMW. But I have recently been running into transmission hiccups, I'll say, not issues. It hasn't been anything that's put me down and out, but that's partly what prompted me to get the Hyundai. However, that does not spell the end for the 335. After we get done building the Z, what I plan on doing with the 335 is doing a full race build, because I do want to start doing either autocross or circuit racing, or both. Honestly, it really depends on what opportunities are available in my city or nearby, as well as the time allowed for those activities. It will definitely be a very interesting thing to get into, and if you're into any type of motorsport, I highly suggest, if for some reason you're just randomly on this video, or you're waking up at 4 a.m. and you hear my sultry voice speaking to you right now, I highly suggest that you do subscribe. As also, like this video, because it's a cool video. I mean, that's all I can really say about it. And also, it's going to spell out a lot of the stuff that we do have planned for the future here. Now, as far as the 335 is concerned, with the racing, I am going to do a full racing build on it. At the current point in time, as I said, we are full bolt-ons. The only mods on that car that are essentially race specific at this point are going to be the 7-inch deep front mount intercooler that I have on there. It's just below the biggest one that ARM Motorsports provides, which actually they did sponsor that part for the 335xi. There's going to be a decent amount of other things that are going to need to be done to the 335 eventually. But of course, one of the things that's going to happen is we are going to have to gut that, and we might tube it at some point in time as well, depending on how in depth we get into that part of the racing. Personally, I've done circuit racing and autocross a handful of times, and I have really enjoyed the experience. I've never gotten to do it in my car, but as far as having that car for as long as I have and doing those sports in other cars, I will say that I can definitely see myself really getting into that. But in addition to the motorsports, another aspect that I do want to get into is I want to get into a bit more of the entertainment side. One thing that I do want to do is I want to start a build series called Because I Can. And the reason why I'm calling it Because I Can is because there's a lot of stigma in, honestly, any community, but the automotive community in particular, where you can only do certain things to your cars or else you're an outlier. And I want to kind of push those things to the forefront and put it on the platform for people to understand that you can do what you want to do with your car. If you want a diesel, swap a Range Rover, and I mean like a Cummins diesel, not a regular diesel, you can do that. It's all up to you. And honestly, that'd be pretty gnarly now that I think about it. But that is one of the things that I want to get into here in the future. Obviously, that's not going to be a thing that's feasible at this point because we did just cross 1K. That's more of like a 100K mark where I'm able to support this channel with the channel and not with a second job, essentially. But that's pretty much all for the 335. I'm freezing out here, so let's go talk about the Z. This is my 1986 Nissan 300ZX, or should I say this is the body of the 1986 300ZX, as I am currently surrounded by the Z, because at this point in time we are in the middle of the rebuild. Now, depending on when you're watching this may or may not be finished, and obviously at the time of release, it is not. And that is because we are currently doing everything that I possibly could do to this car, short of, honestly, I don't know what short of. We have everything from fuel system to building the engine. Now, a lot of the custom stuff that we had to do was out of pure necessity. I'm not doing anything that wasn't necessary, like forged crank or anything like that, because that would be completely custom, because it's not offered on the aftermarket for the Z, at least not yet. So the Z started out life with me in August of 2020, and at that point in time it was obviously questionable, but I also was able to actually get into what I am currently into at this point over the course of the next year, getting the garage and moving the Z in here, as well as getting all the parts, pretty much all the parts necessary for the build in order to actually build the 300ZX. However, the road was not nearly as simple. It was filled with post-COVID things like the inability to actually get a title or get it registered in my name for the first basically 2 years. It wasn't until May of 2022 did I actually get the title in my name in the mail. Prior to that, a year prior, I thought everything was good and sweet because I got the registration with my name on it. However, something I did not realize at the time, and something that baffled everybody that I spoke to about it, was the state actually sent me an expired registration. I lie to you not, the expiration date on the registration for the 300ZX was prior to the actual issue date. I don't know how that slipped through the cracks, but it's absolutely insane. But that is all behind us now at this point. The car is fully in my name, and I was free to work on it, even though I did kind of get a kickstart to it. And this car is having absolutely everything done to it. We are building everything we can build. We're doing a complete rebuild on the engine and doing a single turbo, a big single turbo, which we are hopefully going to tune ourselves, at least initially. We'll see how it is down the line, as I do not have access to a dyno, and I don't think, I don't know how that will go at some point in the future. But now, as for what we're doing to the car, or what is done to the car, we started with just getting some basic maintenance out of the way. This included basic things as far as replacing the fuel pressure regulator to something just a tiny bit more advanced, like installing a completely digital rear view mirror for the 300ZX, which by far at this current point in time is my favorite model on the Z. I want that on all of my cars. That is one of the best things that I can think of that can be done to any car, because you don't lose the functionality of the actual mirror, but you gain all the functionality of having a backup camera always up. But other than that, As far as things that I haven't necessarily announced, we have a complete custom seat kit for the 300ZX. It's going to be reupholstered, and I'm also going to be doing a custom headliner. Now that's not saying a lot because the Z's headliner is maybe 3 square feet in total size, but it'll still look pretty cool. I want to do something with the door cards as well. However, I'm not entirely sure about that at this point in time. We also have a super basic audio system inside the Z. And in addition to that, I want to build a sub at some point as well. A custom sub box to fit in the place where the spare tire is supposed to go in the trunk, to have it be a completely seamless OEM looking sub. Because as the Z comes from factory, it has speakers. I don't know if they're subwoofers, but it has speakers over the shock towers. And there's just not a way to have a great sounding sub coming from on top of your shock tower. It's like legit 4 inches of height. This car suffers from giving the audio space to grow and actually sound good, which is very unfortunate. But we're working with what we have, and so far, just the door speakers, I haven't even installed the tweeters, just the 2 door speakers, lower ones. They sound really good. Unfortunately, that is not something I can show you because this is the engine, so I can't actually turn it on. We are rebuilding this engine presently. We have a whole new seal kit, a whole new re-ring kit, bearing kit, everything that we need to basically rebuild this engine we have for it. In addition to that, we're upgrading the fuel system almost completely. I may go AN lines at this point. I have not fully decided on that. In addition to that, we're also going to be upgrading the electrical system in this car by going to a higher amperage alternator that we're going to go ahead and fit to the side. I have all the things for that except for the alternator itself. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, which fortunately will probably be here in the next few months at the time of this video's release. Other than that, we're going to be doing a custom exhaust system on this because as it currently stands, I cannot use the exhaust that's in this car because the exhaust that was in this car is meant for a naturally aspirated engine, which has 2 pipes coming down, as where a turbocharged one has a single pipe, or at least that's what it seems like. Coming from the exhaust manifold that we had made in order to fit our turbo on the car, we have a single downpipe that we're going to need to fabricate in order to come out. In addition to that, to be able to drive it on the street, I'm gonna have to put a cat in there, high flow or not, I'm not sure at this point. But we're gonna have to cat it, and we also have to figure out something for the wastegate dump. I'm probably gonna have a 2-cat system because I want this to be the show car. That's honestly what the Z's going to be, at least for now. Don't get discouraged. Just because it's a show car does not mean it's not going to be driven, does not mean it's not going to necessarily be drifted, which it may honestly end up getting drifted. I am the type of person that if I have a show car, I'm still going to use it. It may get dirty and I will clean it, but it will get used. I'm not just going to let it sit and collect dust. But other than the engine things, we also have a full suspension system for this car, and I also will be upgrading the brakes, as one of the companies that I was getting some of the parts for this Z from has actually come out with an all-new slip-on system for any one of the Zs that do not have slip-on. Now, it looks like they're Willwood style, which is top-notch, but just in case they aren't, I don't know. Now, this is not a sponsored plug whatsoever, but everything for this car is extremely limited as far as like your options go. So if you want to check it out, it is the Response type slip-on rotor. You can just head over to their website to go and check it out if you feel the need to, but I will definitely be upgrading to that because it is the only big brake kit that we can get for the Z31. It's a lot less invasive and a lot more straightforward of a project to do. We also have a full coilover set for the car, both front and rear. I'm thinking at some point I might also just switch to the bags, and that's basically because of what I'm planning on doing with the 335. Since that's not going to have the bag system for its track use, I might as well switch to the bags over here, seeing as how I already have the compressor, basically all of the air management, and all I would need for this car is some new airlines and bags, that would be upgrading the super cheat system that we currently have to something that's leagues better especially for shows, being able to dump this car but also get it on a trailer or get it somewhere to go somewhere, it makes everything a lot more versatile as far as transportation and the actual functions of the car go. There's nothing that I can't do with coilovers, regular coilovers, that I can't do with the bag system. So that's that. Well, other than track use, but yeah. The Z will also be laying the foundation for a lot of things here in the future of FatalRPM, including just basic knowledge that I'm going to require for future builds as things get more and more complex and more interesting. So if you have not already, please go ahead and hit the like button on this video to help it get out there to new people who may be interested in the cars that we currently have, and you can gain interest in our future cars as well as the future of the channel. And for those people who are new here and have not already, please hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon so you get that notification whenever I drop new videos. But I'm pretty sure that's enough of the Z at the moment. Gone over pretty much everything that I have other than a few little miscellaneous pieces. So let's go ahead and jump to the newest, but definitely not the last car in the fleet of FatalRPM. This is my 2022 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid. Why I got a hybrid is because I drive quite a lot for my job that pays for this channel, and it was 100% necessary because the Beamer, as a lot of you may know, was my daily prior to this car. The amount of money that I was spending in gas alone, BMW, was more than the car payment, insurance, and gas for this car. Yeah, it was that bad. But I love this car a lot. And honestly, it's a looker. It's not for everybody, but what I will say, it is a very interesting car to drive and also interesting to own. But I feel like it's better to drive it around than it is to talk about it. So let's go ahead and get it on the road. So I'm well aware that this is a terrible angle, but I have no way of mounting this. So this is gonna have to be what it is. But honestly, there's not too terribly much to say about this car that hasn't already been said. It's a hybrid, which means it's really good on gas. It's a very smooth ride. It's also one of those cars that really promotes bad driving habits. And what I mean by that is it basically drives itself. It technically does drive itself. It has an auto steer mode as well as radar cruise control. So you can legitimately set the cruise and it will keep its distance from the cars. It'll brake automatically. It will go automatically within a certain time. As long as you're not stopped for too long, it will start to accelerate by itself. And you can engage the auto steer, and there you go. The car's steering itself. That's not me. You can see the wheels going on with little jitters. It does not like big bends, and also don't do what I'm doing here and drive and not touch the steering wheel. It's not a good idea because this car does like to drop the auto steer just randomly. Sometimes it will ding at you before it does it. Sometimes it won't. Luckily, every time it hasn't, I have had the wheel in my hand. So do as I say, not as I do. If you ever get to drive a car that is able to drive itself or steer itself, don't let go of the steering wheel. Just don't. But yeah, it's a super economical car. It has about a 12-gallon tank, of which I get 600 miles on. And since it is a 2022, you can put high ethanol content fuels inside the tank and it shouldn't cause any issues. I've been running 88 from Sheetz here in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia, which averages around 330 to 360 a gallon, which means filling up my tank costs me between $35 and 40 bucks. That's it, and it's 600 miles. Compared to the Beamer, which maybe got 300. And since it was tuned for 93, and only 93, it was about 80 or 90 bucks to fill that tank, and I had to do that multiple times a week. So just kind of goes without saying how much of an upgrade this car is. Also, the infotainment system is really nice. The audio is surprisingly good for this to be a base model, as where the Limited has the Bose system. This one has whatever system Hyundai has in their cars, but the bass is pretty good. I've had worse in cars, but the bass is pretty good. The highs are not terrible. Like, they're not great. They can definitely get a little muddied if you have the bass turned up too high, but that's to kind of be expected, and basically not a special audio system. Sorry, my hands are like freezing cold right now. The car is virtually silent, and when it's on the electric motor, the sound that it makes is pretty cool. I like it personally. Here's a quick audio clip of that. Honestly, that's it. There's not a whole bunch of options in this car other than the driving assists and the CarPlay. It's a good car overall. It's definitely something I'm looking forward to having for the foreseeable future, until maybe I swap it out for an electric car or something for a new daily. But yeah. Now, as for what we're going to be doing with the Hyundai, not much, honestly. So everything that I'm going to be doing with the Hyundai is primarily going to be cosmetic, because one, it's a hybrid, two, it's my daily, and I feel as though what I plan on doing with it is going to be good enough, just so that we don't have a completely stock car here on the channel, because we can't just stay 100% OEM. That's just not the style. But I will be dropping a concept here eventually of what I want the Hyundai to look like. So definitely go ahead and follow me on Instagram, where I will post that at some point, at FatalRPM. Also, while you're at it, follow me on Twitter. I don't do anything really on Twitter other than maybe post jokes and sometimes announce things from time to time. So while you're at it, you can follow me on there. In addition to announcing things on Twitter, I sometimes do it on the Reels on Instagram, as well as here on the community tab here on YouTube. In the coming weeks, definitely look out for more Z content coming out. In the weeks that I've been working on this video, I haven't just been working on this video, I have been recording other things. It's just that I had been saying that I was going to get this video out, so I didn't want to get anything else out there, and I didn't want to rush this video because I wanted to put my best foot forward. So this is currently where we are standing, but in the coming weeks, like I said, definitely look out for more Z content, in addition to some holiday related things. Nice little project that I'm working on with a couple friends. One of the friends of which I'm actually doing a YouTube channel with, known as Horrifically Average Gamers. If you like gaming videos, go ahead and check out the content that's over there. We do a lot of fun stuff like this.
Oh, you surprised me. Hello, hello. Come in, sweetling. Come in and make yourself at home.
Why is everybody a different version of Nick Cage now?
Oh, what's this? Oh. Well, hello.
Ah.
That's a bad sign.
Nah, it's fine.
And there's another one.
It's fine. You're fine. It's fine.
Your definition of fine and my definition of fine is two completely different definitions of fine.
That's fine. But if that interests you whatsoever, go ahead and check us out here on YouTube at Horrifically Average Gamers. We will be doing some crossover stuff between the two channels, as well as my friend and I are working on that, and this is my channel that I've had for forever now. But seeing as how we've been FatalRPM for the past few years and we're finally hitting this milestone, I feel now is as good a time as any to go ahead and drop some merch. So I've been working on a design for a t-shirt here for kind of representing the season as well as the channel, but I wanted it to be something that was related to FatalRPM, but not just a shirt that says FatalRPM on it, because you're just kind of shouting me out in public. It's not a shirt that you can just like. I mean, if you like the logo, thank you. But I wanted it to be a little bit more than just that. Unfortunately, I don't have a design for it quite yet. Well, I have the design, but it's just not done, and it's not a place of which I would want to show. However, it is a mix of a couple different art styles, a play on the season, and of course the cars. So if that is something you're interested in, I will be dropping the information here on all my social media channels, that being YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, all at FatalRPM. As well, something else that I wanted to announce here, I am coming out with a brand. There's no date on it quite yet, as I've been working on it for quite some time and working on some designs. However, there's nothing that I'm really dead set on, but the name of the brand is going to be Soup Dream. And essentially what Soup Dream is if someone were to dream of soup, that generally means that they have something good coming to them. Let that be a monetary good thing, like an influx of cash, or something like a pay raise or a promotion at work. Honestly, anything just good coming to you. Now, as for why I chose Soup Dream, is because I wanted to give everybody a brand where you're following more than just the brand, and it's more of a message attached to the brand as well. It's something that you can actually relate to or follow because it is something that is positive. I feel I've been working on this for so long, I just need to share what it is. So that's something that is being worked on here. And in addition to that, we're also going to be naming all the cars after soups from their regions. So the Z from here on out will be known as Miso, which I like. And also, I don't know what I'm going to call the Hyundai or the Beamer. I've been looking at soup names, like German soup names, and I haven't been able to come up with anything. So if you have any ideas, definitely let me know down below. The Hyundai, I haven't even began to look at Korean soup names because I don't think I'm going to be able to pronounce any of them. But any suggestions you have, definitely comment them down below. Let me know what you think, what you suggest. And as always, thank you for watching the video. My name's Derek. This is FatalRPM. Please do drop a like down below. Also, if you've watched this entire video and have not subscribed yet, I don't know what's wrong. What's the problem? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also click the bell next to it and click all so you get notified whenever I drop a new video, when I drop those new videos. But as always, thanks again for watching. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next one.